Petty, and I'm going to continue my series called Thinking About Positive and Negative Numbers. If you saw my first video, you'll remember that we talked about these two dots and that the blue ones are positive and the red ones represent a negative. And if you have a single blue dot with a red dot, it would cancel out to be nothing. So I ended that video with this example. I said, will this number be positive, negative, or zero? We said in that video that this would come out to a positive number because there are more positives in this 16 than there are negatives in this negative 10. We didn't answer this problem though. So now I want to answer that question. So you'll want to think about this. What is the sum of negative 10 and 16? We could represent that with these dots. I have 10 negative dots, and over here on the right I have 16 positive dots. You remember from our rule, every one of these negatives will cancel out a positive, so I could take these 10 negatives and cancel them with these 10 positives right here. And you can see what that leaves me with, these 6 positive dots. So the answer to this question is positive 6. Let's look at this one. Take a minute and see if you can figure this out. I modeled it with these dots. Now notice in this case that there are no positives. These are all negatives. Nothing cancels out. All we have in this case are 4 negative dots, and over here 8 more negative dots. So if you count them all up, this becomes a very simple problem of just a sum of negative 12. That's what happens when you only have either all negative numbers or all positive numbers. You can just count the dots. Here's another one that you can try, and I modeled it with these dots here. So take a minute and think about this and decide what you think the answer would be. In this case, all 12 of these positives are going to cancel out with 12 negatives over here. And you can see what's going to happen then is we will be left with just those 3 negatives. So the answer to this one is negative 3. So those were some addition problems. Now we've got a subtraction problem. This one is asking us what is the difference between negative 5 and positive 2. So in this case, just remember that whenever you see the subtraction symbol, for our purposes this means take away. So this is really saying I have negative 5 dots and I'm going to take away 2 positive dots. Let's model that. Right here I have 5 negative dots and I need to take away 2 positive, but I hope that you can see right away what the problem is. I don't have any positives in this picture to take away, and I need to take away 2 of them. So that's where we're going to use that idea of nothing. Look at this. I can add as many of these pairs of positive and negative dots as I want because each one is nothing. Why would I add just 2 of these pairs? Because this number right here was a 2 and I need to take away 2 positives. So what I'm going to do now that I added these in is I will remove these 2. I'll just imagine that I take those out because it's asking me to take away 2 positives. This is what I get left with, and this is something that I can count up. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative dots now. The difference between negative 5 and positive 2 is negative 7. So that's how you can model subtraction problems. Let's try another one. And if you look in the description of this video, you'll see a link to a slideshow that you can use to model this. Here's how it would look to start out. I have 6 positive dots, and this question is asking me to take away negative 4. So try it out and see what you think the answer would be. Like last time, I added in some pairs of positive and negative dots so that essentially I would have nothing over here and I could take away these negative 4. Let's take these away. I'm going to cross that out and that out. I will be left with this, and I can count these up like last time. You'll see that I have 6 dots and then an additional 4 more leaving me with a total of 10 positive dots. So the difference between positive 6 and negative 4 is a positive 10. Try this one. I'll start the model again. Now in this case, it's saying we have negative 7 dots and we're going to take away negative 3 dots. I don't have to add any sets of nothing this time because I can take away 3 negatives from this set of negatives. I'm taking these away because I have to take away 3 of them. And what does that leave me with? Well, you can see I have 4 left then, so this answer would be negative 4. The difference between negative 7 and negative 3 is negative 4. This might start to make sense as you're looking at all these positive and negative dots, but here's a big question that we have to deal with. What happens when we have larger numbers? For example, look at this. Would you want to model that with dots? If you're taking a math test, would you want to sketch out 58 negatives and 94 positives and try to figure it out? In math, what we've done is we've made some rules based on what we learn as we look at all these examples, and the rules can help us do these other problems more quickly. I want you to just think about this right now. I'm not even going to state these rules, but I want you to think about what happens when we add positive and negative numbers. In these two examples here, I have a positive added to a negative. You can see how this came out to these answers. Just kind of think about how we might have gotten those answers without looking at the dots. And then in this example, we have just 2 negative numbers being added together. So we got some different cases, and that leads to different rules. In the next video, we'll talk specifically about those rules, but it'll help a lot if you can think about them yourself and make some educated guesses on what those rules would be. And we will also need rules for subtraction. See if you can find some patterns in those or ways that might be helpful to think about those if we had large numbers. As I said, we'll talk about those rules in the next video in this series. And you can always find all of our learning chats at room10learningchats.com.